This is TWiT.
Two former employees are suing Sony Pictures Entertainment for failing to protect their personal data. After the company was hacked, terabytes of data was leaked online, including personnel records. The proposed class action lawsuit was filed Monday in a Los Angeles federal court. A lawsuit said the hack is, quote, an epic nightmare, much better suited to a cinematic thriller than to real life, and is unfolding in slow motion for Sony's current and former employees, unquote. Ian Scher is executive editor for CNET and joins us now. Hey, Ian, how you doing? He sounds muted to me, or he has a very quiet voice. How you doing, Ian?
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Now, what employee data was leaked exactly?
Unfortunately, a lot of it. So just to be clear, it was it's gigabytes of data so far that have been released and terabytes that have said to have been stolen.
Good point.
So right now, what we've seen is basically a lot of health records. We've seen salaries. We learned a lot about how Sony pays their employees. And also a lot of emails, which is very embarrassing, especially for the executives who have seen their inboxes basically opened up in public and written about it to great length. So it's been really hard. The employees, particularly who are not executives and not paid like executives, are being treated like them. When you look at the healthcare information that's in there, there are some healthcare docs that include stuff like how the children's medical problems, and it's really tough. And so the two employees say that Sony mismanaged basically their information and should have been a lot more knowledgeable about it. If you remember, Sony was hacked back in 2011, their PlayStation network, and so these employees say Sony should have known better than what happened. And so despite the fact that I believe it was the FBI said that 90% of companies could not have protected from this type of hack, these employees or former employees believe that they should have been able to, and so have sued.
Yeah, more specifically, the lawsuit actually says that they knew or should have known that such a security breach was likely.
Right.
Not that it was possible, but likely.
Yeah.
Do you think that, putting on your lawyer hat for a minute, do you think that is the kind of thing that's going to hold sway in court to say that, a hack is likely and that a company should be able to know that it's coming and then protect against it?
Well, let's look at it from a different angle, right? If you talk to a lot of security experts, I think most of them agree now that there are two types of companies in the world, those that have been hacked and those that know it. And the reality is that the internet has become an incredibly dangerous place. It always has been, but especially for companies. If you look at the rise of state-sponsored hacking, especially with stuff like Stuxnet that happened to the Iranians, we've got these large and growing hacker armies that are being run by the Chinese government and by all sorts of other places, Syrian Electronic Army, all of these things are happening. And so on top of all the hacking that happened before, so what does this mean? Well, should they expect hacking? Yeah, of course. I mean, that's why they have security in the first place. But, at one point, it's hard to say that this company should have seen this particular hack come and how it would play out. But, I mean, whether or not it would hold legal sway is really, I think, up to a jury, and which the two former employees want. They want a jury trial. And also, it's up to whether or not you can really convincingly say that the company mismanaged the information. It's not just that they should have known this hack was coming, but that they didn't take the right steps internally to protect information, even if someone gets in. And that's important to note because a lot of the popular things going on in corporate America these days are to try and actually separate out a lot of the information, protect it with a thing called encryption, where you're basically jumping all the data. And those types of things are what could really help. And also, if they can prove Sony wasn't doing that, we don't know, then they could start to have maybe a harder argument and a better argument than just simply saying they should have known and they should have protected, right? But this is all what we're going to learn during the trial.
There is some incriminating or circumstantial evidence in the form of quotes by an executive, I believe, who was quoted in CIO magazine in 2009 as saying that it's not worth spending $1 million or $10 million to protect against a $1 million hack. And so far, the number for this hack has been put at about $100 million, which is probably a low ball. But that kind of quote in a prominent business publication is not going to help them in court.
It certainly won't.
Yeah, especially if there's a jury. It sounds like they're very cavalier about it. What's interesting to me about this is that the precedent it might, I mean, clearly I think that it's reason, I mean, if an employee leaks the information, employees and companies have each other's information, right? So if an employee leaks the information or does something irresponsible that enables the company's information to get out in the wild, that employee is going to be fired and probably sued. Now, it should go the other way as well. When the company allows the employee's information to get out in the wild, they should be able to be sued as well, I think, theoretically.
Well, that's what's happening, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
exactly what you're seeing. This is the process working its way out. And I mean, Sony, I will guarantee you, was prepared for a multitude of lawsuits that could come their way as a result of this. They have to be. And that's just what part of the process is. And part of it is that there needs to be a formal way for Sony to be able to pay back these employees or pay for credit monitoring and whatnot. And oftentimes, if they don't have a package together quick enough, or if there are too many employees to count, then a lawsuit actually helps the process move forward. So it's actually part of the way things are supposed to work. It's not just kind of, this is very run of the mill. You would expect it.